This is the Abduäl, transmitting from Denver Heights, San Antonio, Texas. And I want to thank you for tuning in, and dropping out into these digital airwaves. I am your highly humble host, Jamal Abduäl Brown. The Abduäl is a raw, spiritually serious, transgressive voice that reveals the power of the divine in the gutter, stands with the stigmatized, exposes false holiness, and calls people from shame, collapse, and self-deception into truth, dignity, and reconstruction. The real perversion was never your desire. Let's quit talking soft. They tried to make you feel dirty for loving, not because your love was filthy, not because the divine came down and cursed your body, not because heaven choked on your desire and spat your name back out. No, they did that because your existence made their bullshit harder to sell. That's the truth. Your body broke their doctrine. Your hunger exposed their fear. Your tenderness made a liar out of their clean little theology. So they took their disgust, their cowardice, their control-freak panic, and stuffed it into sermon. They dipped their cruelty in holy language. They baptized their nausea and called it conviction. That's what the fuck they did. And some of you have been bleeding from that blade so long, you don't even know where the wound begins anymore. You feel desire and embrace for punishment. You want to be touched and shame gets there first. You fall in love and hear the indictment in your own bloodstream. You stand naked before intimacy and feel like evidence. That's not God. That is what happens when terrified people crawl inside your soul and build a courtroom there. They made your body feel like a crime scene, made your longing feel contaminated, made your tenderness feel perverse, made your ache for love feel like a reason to apologize for existing. And then they had the nerve to call that righteousness. Man, fuck that. The real perversion was never queer desire. The perversion was teaching people to hate themselves for needing love. The perversion was making human closeness feel unclean. The perversion was watching people split themselves in half just to survive church, family, doctrine, country, manhood, womanhood. Whatever the hell false altar was demanding blood that day. The perversion was every preacher, every parent, every trembling coward with a verse in their mouth and violence in their theology, telling you God was disgusted by the very place your heart came alive. That shit was violence. Not metaphorical violence. Not unfortunate wording. Violence. Soul violence. Body violence. Conscience violence. The kind that gets in your bones and teaches you to surveil your own tenderness like a snitch. The kind that makes you reach for somebody and feel filth instead of warmth. The kind that turns prayer into panic and desire into self-interrogation. Some of y'all still ain't free because the church moved out of the building but never moved out of your nervous system. You still got an inner preacher standing in your chest with a bat. Still got some dead man's doctrine patrolling your bloodstream. Still asking permission to exist in the shape you already came in. Still trying to make your soul legible to people who would rather see you butchered than whole. Listen to me and hear me clean. You do not owe anyone your self-erasure. You do not owe anyone your internal mutilation. You do not owe frightened, brittle, spiritually constipated people the dismemberment of your own humanity just so they can keep pretending their worldview is holy. You do not owe them that. And I'm not here to hand you some cheap-ass rainbow hallmark gossip either. I'm not saying every desire is sacred because it feels intense. Desire can lie. Desire can manipulate. Desire can consume. Desire can turn another person into a bandage, a mirror, a drug, a stage, a hiding place. So no, I'm not preaching indulgence. I'm preaching truth. I'm saying queer desire is not dirty by default. I'm saying your longing is not proof of corruption. I'm saying your body is not some cursed little accident God is embarrassed to be seen with. I'm saying the issue is not whether your love fits their fear. The issue is whether your love tells the truth. Does it honor or does it use? Does it deepen or does it degrade? Does it bring reverence into the room or just appetite? Does it touch the soul or just feed the wound? Does it leave people more whole or more hollow? That's the question. Not whether some dry, frightened bastard with a pulpit felt weird about your existence. Let the dead bury the dead. We are talking about sacred worth, and sacred worth means this. You do not get to call yourself trash because somebody else needed a scapegoat. You do not get to keep reciting their disgust and call it humility. You do not get to drag your own heart behind the truck of inherent shame and then wonder why your spirit can't stand up straight. So stop agreeing with the knife. Stop helping them carve you up from the inside. Stop confusing self-hatred with holiness, because shame and conviction are not the same damn thing. Conviction says, tell the truth, stop lying, stop using people, grow up, come into integrity, stand upright. Shame says, you are foul, you are unworthy, you are wrong at the root. Nobody holy could want you. God must be holding his breath around you. That is not the voice of the divine. That is a voice of spiritual abuse wearing church perfume. And let's go deeper, because some of y'all need the blade twisted all the way honest. You have spent years trying to survive and becoming a partial version of yourself, a censored self, a trimmed down self, a divided self, a self acceptable enough to avoid punishment, but never holy enough to breathe. That half living is killing you, because what you bury alive doesn't stay buried clean. It comes back twisted. It comes back as secrecy. It comes back as numb sex and counterfeit closeness. It comes back as disassociation, self-contempt, panic, performative hardness, fake promiscuity, sterile celibacy, compulsive proving, or that dead-eyed stare of somebody who has not been allowed to belong to their own body in years. That is what shame does. It does not make you holy. It makes you split. And a split soul will cause survival peace just because it got tired of bleeding. No more. The divine is not standing over your life with a disgusted face and the rubber gloves on. God is not gagging at your longing. God is not scandalized by the fact that your body knows how to ache. God is not pacing the floor because you're loved outside the lines drawn by men too cowardly to face mystery without turning into the law. God is not that small. God is not that weak. God is not that pathetic. Their doctrine is pathetic. Their fear is pathetic. Their counterfeit purity is pathetic. Their little empire of clean and unclean is pathetic. But the divine has been down in the places they thought you would hate, in the sweat, in the trembling, in the wanting, in the kiss that made you feel both alive and guilty because they trained you to expect punishment at the tenderness in the bedroom, in the loneliness after. And the years you spent trying to pray your own heart to death, in the mirror where you learn to look at yourself like contraband, in the fist you clenched when love rose up, honest in you, and all you knew to do was call yourself sick. And the nights you asked God why your desire felt like a death sentence, in the wreckage, in the wreckage, in the fucking wreckage, God was there, not flinching, not recoiling, not abandoning you, there. So hear the charge. If you're going to love, then love like a grown soul. Love with truth in your mouth. Love with reverence in your hands. Love without using people to medicate your fracture. Love without domination. Love without cowardice. Love without lying to yourself. Love like the other person is sacred ground, not a container for your unmet hunger and not a prop in your war against shame. And for the love of God, stop crawling. Stop crawling to churches that fed on your self-hatred. Stop crawling to families that needed you amputated. Stop crawling to doctrines that only know how to name holiness by finding someone to exile. Stop crawling to fear. Stand the hell up. Stand up in your body. Stand up in your desire. Stand up in your conscience. Stand up in your sacred worth. Stand up without apologizing for the place where tenderness lives in you, because they lied. They lied when they told you your longing made you filthy. They lied when they told you God turned away from the way you love. They lied when they told you your self-rejection was holiness. They lied when they made disgust sound like revelation. And if anybody still tells you that the divine can't dwell where your honest love lives, tell them this plain. The problem was never my desire. The problem is that your God is too damn small to survive my truth. This is the Abduäl, and I am Jamal Abdul Brown. Let it be so.